Simeon Taiwo is a certified management consultant, brand strategist, data analyst, and systems thinker. He is the founder and lead creative consultant at Clary Life Global, a leading brand development and web development agency in Port Harcourt, Nigeria. He is also the senior partner at brandingschool.ng, a branding edtech platform. Taiwo is the founder of Teachers and Educators Forum, TEF Nigeria, a 12,000 plus capacity online community of educators, academic administrators, and school owners all over the world. He is the convener of the Brilliant and Talented Summit that hosts students from several schools in Port Harcourt, helping them to create a sweet balance between academic brilliance and societal relevance by teaching them adaptive learning skills and helping them to refine their talents for relevance. Taiwo is the convener of the Celebrity Creative Bootcamp, a platform where he teaches up-and-coming creatives how to position themselves profitably in the industry and increase their perceived value to ultimately scale their businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, make welcome Simeon Taiwo.
Good day, everyone. I believe you can all hear and see me clearly. So thank you so much. I've been in the previous sessions. I was in Mr. Niyishoyinka's session, and it has been amazing. It's been nothing short of amazing. Listening to the previous speakers, just wondering if I still have any notes to share. It's been amazing. It's been amazing. However, just a few things, from the practical point of view, and then from the angle of my own topic, which is quite different from what other speakers previously before me have talked about. I'll be talking about mastering the systems for dominating in a saturated market. Mastering the systems for dominating in a saturated market. Thank you so much, Abigail. Thank you so much, Grace. Thank you so much, Joy, Salome, Mr. Daniel, Obiyo. Thank you so much. I see you. I want to use this moment to appreciate the organizers of this program. I want to use this moment to appreciate Okoye Ijeoma Dicta for counting me, worthy of being among the facilitators of this program. Thank you so much once again. All right, so my topic is quite interesting: mastering the systems for dominating in a saturated market. While I was meditating on the topic, I actually saw three different topics, embedded in this thing. Wow, where do I start from? Now, one in this topic is market saturation, because you're talking about dominating in a saturated market. So the first thing we need to understand is, what exactly is market saturation? That's one. The next thing is market domination. How can you dominate in a saturated market? So you have to think about how to dominate. That is market domination. And the last thing is systems thinking, because you're talking about mastering the systems. And I really love the way the topic was put together, because for you to dominate in the market, it's a product of well thought out and intentional effort. And that is where systems come to play. You can't dominate a market being random. You can't dominate a market being haphazard. You can't dominate a market being, spontaneous. You have to be intentional. And that is where systems come to play. All right, so what exactly is market saturation? Market saturation actually is a state whereby the supply for a product or service has exceeded the demand. Normally, I will not advise anyone to plunge into a saturated market without a proper strategy in place. I won't advise anyone to plunge into a saturated market without a proper strategy in place. Because if you're entering a market that has already been saturated, then you must have a strategy for how do you even intend to survive? How do you even intend to compete, right? And how do you intend to have a favorable market share in that saturated market? So when we're talking about saturated market, it's a market where the supply for a product or service has exceeded the demand. It is also characterized by the availability of too many options presenting themselves to the consumers. When consumers have too many options in front of them, that is a saturated market. Because you are coming as one other option, as another option to be added to the several options they already have. You get what I'm saying? So it is important that you have a strategy in place when you are entering a saturated market. Now, what does it mean to dominate a saturated market? To make it things clear, dominating a saturated market does not mean being the King Kong in the saturated market. It doesn't mean being the only man or the last man standing in the saturated market. Dominating the saturated market simply means that you have been able to build a brand that has been able to attract and keep the loyalty of a particular market segment. Market domination is a state where your brand has been able to attract and keep the loyalty of an exact market segment. So, for you to say you're dominating a saturated market, number one, you must have a segment that you're targeting. You can't dominate a saturated market when you don't have a target market to yourself that you're targeting. You can't dominate a saturated market when you have not carved a particular market for yourself that you are targeting. And this brings me to the idea of blue ocean strategy. In blue ocean strategy, we talk about locating a micro niche, a very small niche within an existing market where they have needs or pain points that have not been directly addressed. Locating a very smaller niche or a micro niche within a bigger market segment where a specific pain point has not been addressed. So, for instance, a good example is you're in a place where everybody is selling high-end, let's say footwears. Everybody is selling high-end footwears. And then you are able to locate a particular supplier that can beat the price down for you so that you can begin to sell at a very lower price. That means this market is saturated, of course. There are so many players in the industry, but you have been able to carve a niche of people who can afford to buy at a lower price, and then there is nobody serving them, and you are just serving them. Let me give you a good example. For instance, Cowbell was able to penetrate Nigeria using a particular strategy. This strategy we are talking about. Before Cowbell came to Nigeria, there was just Peak Milk and some other high-end, what's it called? Milk products. And then when Cowbell studied the market, they noticed that the lower class have been cut out of this thing. The lower class cannot afford this thing. So what did they do? They created a product to meet the need of the lower class at the price point that the lower class can afford. And while Picnic were like, okay, we don't do small things. You are big boys. When you're big, and they are beginning to claim big and big and big. Cowbell was silently penetrating the lower class. They released strategies of partnering with schools, they partnered with schools. They begin the strategy of painting houses, giving people kiosks, painting their kiosks. The label of cowbell was everywhere. Their marketing campaign was targeted for the poor masses. And they were penetrating little by little, silently, unnoticed, until it got to a time where it was not like, wait, oh, these guys that we are calling small boys, they have actually taken the entire market from us. And by the time Pick Milk woke up from their dream, cowbell had taken over. The only thing Pick Milk could now do was to release Three Crown to now compete with cowbell. But by the time Three Crown came, cowbell had already established itself. That is carving a niche out of a bigger market, a red ocean, right? And looking for a particular pain point, a particular issue that has not been addressed, and then just zoning in on that. That is blue ocean. So when you are entering into a saturated market, the first thing you want to have in mind is locate an issue that nobody is talking about. Locate a pain point that nobody is addressing. Locate a gap that nobody is filling. Do your market research. See what others are saying, see what others are doing, and find out what exactly is still remaining that they are not saying. What is remaining that they are not doing. Now, talking about systems thinking as it relates to our discussion tonight, it's actually the ability to coordinate all your branding and marketing efforts in a way that your message, your story, and the experience you're creating for your consumers, they all work in harmony. Now, breaking them down actually. So, what exactly does it mean? What are the keys to thrive in a saturated market? What exactly does it mean to be thriving and to be dominating in a saturated market? Number one, please take note of these things. Number one, let me tell you a story. Let me tell you a story. In my space, in the creative space where I play, many years ago when I started, that not so many years ago anyway, 2018 when I started, I did some series of study, and one of the things I found out was within my locality, that is in Port Harcourt where I'm based, I noticed that the market here is not ripe enough for my kind of work. And I noticed that the market here where I'm based is actually um not a kind of conducive market in terms of perception and in terms of purchasing power. So I told myself, if Port Harcourt does not really value what I do so much, what exactly should I do to survive in this thing? I said, okay, I will need to look elsewhere and start communicating my brand to other people outside where I'm staying. So what did I do? I began to position myself alongside brands in Lagos, brands in Abuja. And why did that work so successfully? It worked successfully because, number one, as I began to operate in Port Harcourt, a lot of people did not know that I am in Port Harcourt. A lot of people actually thought I was in Lagos or in Abuja. And I ensured that my marketing communication, the way I portrayed my brand, and everything about the way I create my perception and everything did not communicate anything close to Port Harcourt at all. Because I understudied all the players in Port Harcourt that are available that I could see. And I saw the trend. I said, okay, I will just go in a tangential way to what they are doing. So after a while, when people reach out to me and they're like, okay, we need this, we need that, the first question is, oh, are you in Lagos? Can we come to your office? And I'm like, okay, I'm not based in Lagos. I'm actually in Port Harcourt. And I'm like, seriously? But you don't look like it. And I'm like, oh, so what do Port Harcourt people look like? Now, what did that do for me? It did something. Number one, it helped me to achieve my financial objectives because I already studied the Port Harcourt ecosystem. I knew that Port Harcourt ecosystem, creative industry in the Port Harcourt ecosystem is not really doing well. And I knew that if I pitch my tent around Port Harcourt and carry Port Harcourt on my head, this thing will not benefit me. So the best thing I could do is to position myself with my brand expertise as though I am not in Port Harcourt. So what did I do? I began to use other people outside Port Harcourt as a benchmark for my brand communication, for the excellence in our services, for the customer service, everything. I was using other states outside Port Harcourt as the benchmark. Examples, Lagos and Abuja. And gradually it began to resonate. That is one power of what? Differentiation. That is one power of positioning. So dominating the market now, being the number, if you search a branding agency in Port Harcourt now, Claro Life Global is number one. Now, that didn't happen by me competing head on with players in Port Harcourt. That happened by differentiating myself away from what people know Port Harcourt players as. Now, this is one lesson I want you to pick from here. When it comes to dominating the market, don't think of a box. Think as though there is no box. Don't think of a box. Think as though there is no box. It is you creating a box for yourself. Say, okay, I'm based in Asaba. Let me put my brand as company in Asaba. And then my competitors are those who are living on the same street with me in Asaba. Those are not your competitors. And that is another thing I also need to mention, because when people are talking about their competition, a lot of people have a very myopic definition of competition. Your competition is not necessarily the person that is doing exactly what you're doing. Your competition is not someone who is doing what you're doing or something similar to what you're doing. No. Your competition is that person that is targeting the same market segment that you are targeting. Your competition is that person that has an alternative that is capable of being used as a substitute for you. Let me give you a scenario. If you're here and you take Coca-Cola products, and then let's say you attended a program, a health seminar, or whatever, maybe it was organized in church or somewhere, and then after listening to the speaker, and then you got to know all the detriment of taking coke, and then you gave your life to Christ, you repented, and you say you're not taking coke again. What you'll not be taking is water. The question is, of course, you have changed you have changed your lifestyle. You're no longer taking coke, right? Now the question is, has Coke lost you to Pepsi? No. Coke has not lost you to Pepsi. Coke has lost you to a changed lifestyle. So who is Coke's competition there? Is it Pepsi? No. So it is a myopic definition of competition to be thinking your competition is only that person that is doing exactly what you're doing. No. You get what I'm saying? So when we're talking about dominating in a saturated market, always think as though there is no box. Don't box yourself and say, okay, the saturation I'm experiencing, these are the competitions that are causing it. No, it is not that person next door that is selling what you're selling that is the competition that is causing the market to be saturated. Don't think like that. All right. So the next thing I'll be talking about is when we're talking about thriving in a saturated market, number one, there are several principles, there are several tactics, there are several methodologies or whatever. You can even find them on Google. But the number one thing I will always recommend is prioritize authenticity. Prioritize authenticity. Prioritize authenticity. Now, let me break it down because it's not just as simple as it sounds. Authenticity simply means finding your core uniqueness. Finding your core uniqueness. Uniqueness here doesn't mean that you're doing what nobody else has done before. Uniqueness doesn't mean that you're doing or saying what nobody has said before. It doesn't mean that you're doing something completely strange. No. Uniqueness simply means that whatever it is you're doing, bring a, bring a natural spice that is coming from yourself. Bring it into that thing. Let there be some level of originality, some part of you added to that thing. Whatever it is you're doing, because can I tell you the fact? There is no business you're doing or no skill you're selling that nobody has sold or nobody has done before. If you have gone to one school to learn programming or to learn what's it called, data analytics, or to learn AI or whatever it is you have gone to school to learn, and then you're now starting business, I can assure you that you're not the first person or the only person who learned it. Even in the class where you learned it, there are about 100 of you or 1,000 of you who learned that thing. Now, let's say after you all learned it, you all entered into the market to start selling or to start doing business. The question is, what is your age? The teacher determined and designed the curriculum of your training. So it is expected that you all learned and knew the same thing. So then you are now going into the market. What is your age? What guarantees your survival? The only thing that will guarantee your survival is if you are able to look at what other people are doing and think of, okay, what can I add into this thing that the teacher taught that will make mine to be different? What twist can I add into this thing that we were all taught together in the same class that will make mine to be different? What unique style of expression can I give to this thing that will add some level of uniqueness to my own? What are others saying? And how can I say something different? How are others doing their own? And how can I bring some level of uniqueness to mine? What market are others targeting? How can I target a separate market entirely? That is what we call authenticity. Authenticity simply means not being a me too brand. Others are doing it, me too, I won't join. Authenticity simply means not being a me too brand. Meaning anything you're releasing, anything you're showcasing, anything you're bringing to the market, there is some level of uniqueness. That is authenticity. Authenticity simply means doing your due diligence to stay abreast of what others are doing so that you can always bring a different twist to your own. Be comfortable with being different. Be comfortable with being different. Others are writing. They're calling themselves writing coach and this and that. And you too, you are writing. What uniqueness can you bring into the way you write? Choosing a separate channel can be your uniqueness. Choosing a separate audience can be your uniqueness. Choosing a separate mode of conversation or communication can be your uniqueness. Just one tiny twist that you add to what you're doing can be your uniqueness. You don't have to do much. But as much as possible, always think of what different thing can I add to this thing. That's one. Number two, prioritize customer service. We are talking about thriving in a saturated market, building systems or mastering systems for dominating in a saturated market. I can tell you for free that nobody will connect with your brand on the basis of public impressions. People will only connect with the basis of their individual experience. People will only connect with your brand on the basis of their individual experience. So always prioritize customer experience. We should always ask, what taste did I leave in the mouth of the last person that came to me? The last customer, I love to call it the last customer ideology or the last customer, whatever you want to add to it. But the question is, what taste did that last customer leave with? The last person who patronized you, what taste did the person leave with? Because you must understand something. When people come around, they come around because you attracted them with your branding, with your marketing, with your sales copy, with your offers, right? When they come around and they come to encounter you, they come to have an experience of you. At that point, what will keep them coming will be how you make them feel. Because at the end of the day, what they go about telling others about you will be a product of how they felt around you. When they came around, how did they feel? And that is why we always say that your brand is not what you say about yourself. Your brand is what others say about you. And why that is valid is because when they leave, after they've experienced you, when they leave, they go to their circles and they begin to talk about you. They get to their offices, they talk about you. They get to their church, they talk about you. They get to their social gatherings, they talk about you. When someone around them, someone they love so much, needs what you do, they are triggered. That I have someone that I can recommend for you. Oh, the last time I patronized the guy did me so, he did something beautiful for me. Let me give you the contact. Because they want the person that they love to share the beautiful experience that they also had. But if it was a terrible experience, and if by mistake that person that they love has already gotten your contact from someone, Shade, I want to get a birthday cake for my husband. Someone gave me this guy's contact, the liquor cakes. I'm going to their shop today to order a cake. And then, Belico what? Oh, the last time I went there, it was a terrible experience I had. Don't even go there at all. That is the end. That is the end. So you must always prioritize customer service. The next thing is give attention to research and development. Give attention to innovation. Now, this may look like some big, it's not big. It's not big. The quality of what drew people to you yesterday will never be sufficient to keep them with you tomorrow. The quality of what drew people to you yesterday will never be sufficient to keep them with you tomorrow. No matter the result you're getting currently in business, never settle. Never settle. The reason is, while you are busy basking in the market acceptance you're enjoying, someone is busy looking for how to do what you do at a cheaper rate, in a faster way, in a more efficient way. People are looking for how to do what you do better. The same way you are researching your competitors is the same way others are researching you as well. And there is nothing that is so perfect that doesn't leave a room for innovation. Nothing is so perfect that does not leave a room for innovation. So no matter how perfect you think your brand is, someone is understudying you, thinking of what loophole improve in what you're doing. So never settle. Never settle. I tell people that skills, business ideas, products, they don't have the future. AI is the future. Tech is the future. Tech is the new oil, and all of those things. Nothing that you learn on this earth has a future. The only thing that has a future is you and me. Skills and business ideas and technologies don't have future. Only people have future. And those who will control the future, those who will lead the game in the future, are those who are already thinking, how will my business be carried out in the next 5 years? What are the possibilities of doing what I'm doing in the next 10 years? How can I bring it closer? How can I bring it closer? Because there is nothing so perfect now that doesn't need improvement, that doesn't leave room for an improvement. So think of product innovation, think of process innovation, think of innovating your business model, think of innovating your systems and processes. Think of, how can I make this thing faster? Okay, this thing takes me 5 days to finish. How can I finish it in 2 days? Always think of how you can make what you're doing more efficient, more effective, faster, easier. If it is possible, how can I even make it cheaper? Okay, the overhead cost of creating this thing is 10,000 naira. How can I beat the cost down to 5,000 naira? Always think in terms of how you can improve what you're doing. Because if you are not thinking it, others are thinking it for you. And the day they come up with a solution, that's the end. That is the end. And can I tell you something? I always tell people this: customers are not born loyal. No customer was born loyal. You are the one to keep your customers loyal. Nobody was born loyal. The day I find someone who can do what you do faster, the day I find someone who can do what you do cheaper, the day I find someone who can give me the exact same kind of solution you are giving me in a faster way, in a more cost-effective way, that's the end. It's business. It is what it is. The next thing, thriving or dominating a saturated market, always pay attention to strategic partnerships and collaboration. Pay attention to strategic partnerships and collaboration. You see, success is partly dependent on capacity and partly dependent on leverage. Success is partly dependent on capacity and dependent on leverage. Relationships are one powerful leverage you should never overlook in business. What you know is your capacity, but who knows you is your leverage. Who knows you? Who is talking about? Who is rooting for you? Who has your interests as part of their interest? So always think in terms of partnerships and collaborations. You see, when we're talking about saturated market, Many people think it's a game of you are fighting everybody. You are the outlaw fighting everybody, fighting everybody. No, being in a saturated market does not mean that you're fighting everybody. Being in a saturated market simply means that you are also forging alliances. The wisdom to win in a saturated market is not that you are making enemy. The wisdom to win in a saturated market is that you are forging stronger alliances. And one thing partnerships and collaborations help you with is partnerships and collaborations allow each party to benefit greatly while still having the permission to be selfish. Because it's all about mutual interest. That is why they say at the highest level of power, there is no enmity. There is no enmity at the highest level of power. What we have is interest, strategic alliances based on interest. This is my interest. This is your interest. You have a common enemy here. Can we join forces together to fight the common enemy? That is strategic alliances. So in business, strategy requires that you know who you should fight and you know who you should not fight. There are people you should not fight. There are people you can only strike deals with. If your idea of business is taking on everybody, very soon, it's a dangerous game to play. It is a dangerous game to play. There are some battles that are not worth it. There are some battles that are not worth it. I heard a story of the owner of the founder of InterSwitch. InterSwitch is one technology that connects every bank in Nigeria. And when it was coming up with that technology, I can't remember exactly what percentage now, but I believe more than 65% was what it gave to banks. I mean, 55% of the equity, it gave it to banks. Like, okay, banks should own, should share the equity. And then he went on with just maybe 15 to 20. I can't remember the exact percentage, but that story is real. But guess what? If he had said he alone want to eat 100% of the InterSwitch game, the InterSwitch technology, those banks will gather together to ensure that it fails. But by sharing the equity with them, they are part of those who ensure that it remains successful. So there are some battles that are not worth it. A business consultant I respect so much, Mr. Imam Dibi, will always say something. The leg of an elephant is always better than the full body of a cockroach. Let that minister to you. The leg of an elephant is better than the full body of a cockroach. I'll be rounding up now. I have just two more things to share. Just three more quick stuff to share. Stand strong on your values and market them through your brand story. Stand strong on your values and market them strongly through your brand stories. One characteristic of heavy market saturation is that a lot of players begin to play dirty, begin to cut corners, begin to act desperate in order to fight for their profitability, to keep their profitability and revenue. At moments like this, one of the ways to differentiate yourself is to be strong on your values and never relent in showcasing those values through your brand story. Never relent in showcasing your brand values through your story, through the stories you're telling on your social platforms, through cost-generated content, testimonials, through behind the scenes. Share your brand story, because the more you can connect deeply and emotionally with people, right, the better stand you have to keep your market share. People are emotional beings. They drift emotionally. So it's a good game to play when you are able to what share your story to keep attracting and retaining the people that trust you. The next thing I'll be talking about is work on your business operations and processes. This is where you begin to talk about having well documented SOPs. If you're already building structure in your business, you're not the only one doing the stuff, begin to establish lines of command. Which office is responsible for what? Who answers to who? And all of that. Begin to establish these things. These things are important because when it comes to certain business goals, when it comes to certain brand goals, what helps you to hit those goals repeatedly is the quality of systems you have in place. The quality of systems you have in place. We are talking about mastering systems for dominating a saturated market. You can't dominate a saturated market randomly, haphazardly. You can only dominate a saturated market when there is a system in place, a system that ensures that you keep maintaining your standard. Because, like this quote that says that you don't rise to the level of your goals, you always fall to the level of your systems. You can achieve a goal, by motivation. You just got the motivational rush, you achieve the goal, right? The question is, can you sustain that goal that you have achieved? That is where the systems come in. Can you sustain that goal that you have achieved? That is where systems come in. So, talking about systems, you must standardize a lot of things with the way you do business. Have your standard operating procedures, have lines of command. Which office is responsible for what activity? Outline the processes involved in your daily running of your business, the marketing, sales and marketing, production, accounting. Have all those processes well outlined, and what are the routines involved in the daily running of your business. Have all of those things outlined so that you can begin to develop standard operating procedures. This is how we do this. This is how we do this. This is our signature method of doing this. These are the systems that help you to actually dominate. The last thing I'll be talking about is invest in your brand marketing. Invest in your brand marketing. Consistency in showing up. Consistency in telling your story. Because can I tell you something? Out of sight is out of mind. The person they see more often is the person they remember more often. When you're talking about dealing with a saturated market, one thing you want to always achieve is top of mind. If you're playing in a saturated market, one thing you always want to achieve is top of mind. When there is a need for what you do, whose name comes to their mind? When there is a need for what you do, whose name comes to their mind? You want to always achieve top of mind. All right. Thank you so much for having me. I will be stopping here. And